Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to this hybrid public comment hearing conducted by the Energy Facilities Siting Board in docket EFSB 2302, DPU 2345, known as the A1B2 Refurbishment Project, Warwick to Sterling Transmission Replacement Project, which I will refer to as A1B2 Project or the project. Before we start, I would like to explain how to use Zoom this afternoon to ensure that everyone can fully participate in this hybrid public comment hearing from the start. We do have interpreters who will be translating from English to Spanish and back. To select your desired language, click on the globe icon at the bottom of your screen and select English or Spanish so that you can hear everything said today with interpretation as needed. I will give you a moment so that you can do that. For audio-only participation attendees, you can dial in at 646-558-8656. This is not a toll-free number. And then enter the webinar ID 875-0178-0143. Now I'm going to ask that the interpreters please read these instructions in Spanish after I've finished them now.
Okay, thank you. Buenas tardes a todos. Me gustaría darles la bienvenida a todos a esta audiencia híbrida de comentario público realizada por la Junta de Emplazamiento de Instalaciones Energéticas de Massachusetts en el expediente EFSB 23-02, TPU 2345, conocida como renovación A1-B2 o proyecto de reemplazo de transmisión de Warwick a Sterling, o sea, el proyecto A1-B2 o proyecto. Antes de comenzar, quiero explicar cómo usar Zoom esta tarde para garantizar que todos puedan participar plenamente en esta audiencia híbrida desde el principio. Contamos con intérpretes que interpretarán del inglés al español y viceversa. Para seleccionar el idioma que desee, haga clic en el icono del globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla y seleccione inglés o español para que puedan escuchar todo lo que se dice hoy con interpretación. Una vez que se abran los canales de interpretación, podrán seleccionar el idioma. Para participar solo en audio, los asistentes pueden marcar al 646-558-8656 y luego ingresar el identificación del seminario web, que es el 875-0178-0143.
Ok, vamos a empezar interpretación. Un momentito. Estamos en vivo. One other additional announcement for those who are watching remotely, there is also closed captioning. You'll see that at the bottom of the screen where it says show captions. You can select a language of your choice for captions by selecting the caption language, and that will allow you to have captions translated into the language of your choice. Doesn't seem to be working right now, but that's the way it's supposed to work. Here we go. So I don't know if you see what I have on my screen, but once you hover over my caption language, you'll have a number of different languages you can translate the captions into. Okay? Back to you, Connor.
Please do not check the box that says mute original audio. We recommend this so that you can still hear the voice of the actual speaker faintly in the background, but mostly you will hear the voice of the interpreter. Dial-in participants will hear the speaker's voice without interpretation, as Zoom does not offer interpretation for dial-in participants. However, all comments made by dial-in participants on this number will be interpreted into Spanish or English. My name is Connor Tarr. I am the presiding officer in this proceeding and am conducting the public comment hearing this afternoon. With me from the Energy Facilities Siting Board are others who will be involved in the review of this project, including Andrew Green, the Director of the Siting Division, Wayne Wang, Assistant Director of the Siting Division, who's in the back, Tim Riley, Siting Specialist with the Siting Division, and Brian Wilmer and Nathaniel Strasberg, Siting Analysts with the Siting Division. Please let us know if you are having any technical difficulties with Zoom. Call or text 857-200-0065 for assistance. Moving on to the description of the project, why we're here this afternoon. We are here because National Grid is seeking approval from the Energy Facilities Siting Board to replace an existing transmission line, tap lines, and double circuit structures with a new overhead transmission line, tap lines, and double circuit structures in an existing transmission corridor in Warwick, Royalston, Athol, Winchton, Gardner, Westminster, Fitchburg, Leominster, and Sterling, Massachusetts. The A1-B2 project seeks replacement of a transmission line between Warwick and Sterling, which operates at 69 kilovolts with a line capable of operation at 115 kilovolts. The complete project is 53 miles long and includes a 6-mile section in Vermont/New Hampshire. For the Massachusetts portion of the project, about 47 miles long, National Grid proposes to replace the lines and transmission structures that are holding up the lines, replacement transmission line, within the existing right-of-way. The company also proposes to replace 2 smaller transmission lines and associated structures that feed into the corridor. One, a line beginning in Athol that connects to the corridor in neighboring Royalston, and 2, a line beginning and connecting in Gardner, referred to as the replacement taps. Once the replacement transmission line, replacement taps, and structures are constructed, collectively known as the replacement line, National Grid will remove the old lines and structures. National Grid will make a presentation this afternoon regarding its proposed A1-B2 project and respond to questions related to its proposal. We have copies of the public notice in English and Spanish on the table in the back that the Siting Board directed the company to provide to residents and owners of property near the proposed project. Those notices include maps of the proposed project. In addition, the notice provides a link to a map on the company website, which allows anyone to put in an address and see the location of that address relative to the location of the proposed project. Finally, information on the project is posted to the Siting Board website, and you can find that link on the notice as well. If you are participating remotely using Zoom, you will still have a full opportunity to see and hear everything said during this hearing, and to offer comment and ask questions. For those of you accessing the meeting by phone dial-in, you too can hear everything and have an opportunity to comment or ask questions. The instructions on how to participate were provided in the public comment hearing notice, published in the newspapers, in the notices sent to the residents, and posted on the company and Siting Board websites, and posted at the city clerk's offices and libraries for the towns of Warwick, Royalston, Athol, Winchton, Gardner, Westminster, Fitchburg, Leominster, and Sterling. Now we'll move on to some more of the specific technical info. Since this is one of our first hybrid public comment hearings, we could experience some technical difficulties such as sound from speakers, including potential background noise, video and audio issues, and potential delays. For those participating in person and those participating on Zoom or by phone, it is imperative for you to speak slowly and clearly, to allow a speaker to finish speaking before you begin speaking, and to pay attention to the video of the person speaking. I will raise my hand as if a signal if I need to interrupt the person currently speaking to ask them to stop. I will briefly reiterate this guideline when we open the floor to public comment. We will be video recording this public comment hearing, and that recording will be posted to the Siting Board's YouTube channel. All comments offered at this hearing will be recorded both in the official written transcript and on the YouTube video of this hearing. Note that if you would like to see a closed caption on Zoom, press the button at the bottom of the screen that says closed captions, as previously reiterated by Director Green. Next, we'll move on to deadlines for this project. There are different ways in which you can participate in this proceeding, either as a full intervener with rights to ask discovery questions of the company, present witnesses, ask questions of witnesses testifying at the hearings, file briefs and motions, and appeal the decision of the Siting Board. Or, as an interested party, you can receive filings made in this proceeding and file briefs to the Siting Board. In the notice of this public comment hearing, you should be aware that there is a deadline to file any requests for participation as an intervener or as an interested person. That deadline is Friday, April 26th, 2024. It is also the deadline to provide written comments to the Siting Board as outlined in the notice of the public comment hearing. We would encourage anyone who does seek to participate to review the material that we provided in the Siting Board's handbook. Copies of that information are available at the back of the room tonight and is available on the Siting Board website. The link to the Siting Board website and the Siting Board webpage for the proposed project is provided in the written notice. If you have any questions related to this material, please send your contact information to my email at connor.c.tar@mass.gov. This public comment hearing will begin with a presentation by National Grid. National Grid has council and company representatives who are participating in this public comment hearing. May I have the appearances of council?
Catherine Cuthan, Keegan Worland, and I'm representing New England Power Company doing business as National Grid. And with me is
David. I'm David Waterfall, representing National Grid.
Nice to see you both. Thank you. I would note that the company has provided a certification that the notice for the public comment hearing has been provided consistent with the terms required by the Siting Board. We have copies of the Would the company like to begin with its presentation regarding the proposed A1B2 project, and after the presentation, we will open the floor for comments and questions from the public.
Thank you. I'd just like to introduce Jeremy Sherman, who is the project manager for this project. And we thank you for the opportunity to provide additional information about the project and listen to comments. Thank you.
Do you want to use the handheld mic or the mic at the podium?
If I can use the handheld, that'd be fantastic.
There you go, it's on. Give me a moment
Yes,
to
sir. Good.
get the presentation up on the screen.
Sure. Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Jeremy Sherman from National Grid. I am the project manager. We have a multidisciplinary team here to help answer your questions once we finish the presentation. They're all kind of mixed in amongst you all, but we're looking to answer your questions and help you out and explain what this project's all about. Have you gone through the slide yet? Who's run the slide? There's a little video in there. You see that? Awesome. Cool. All right, like I said, well, this is the Warwick Sterling project. We call it the A1B2 project. And we're here for the Mass Energy Facility Siting Board. And we can jump to the next slide, please. So the Warwick Sterling project is the Massachusetts portion of National Grid's A1B2 project. There are portions in both New Hampshire and Vermont, as well as Massachusetts. Currently, it's a 69 kV transmission line. You can see we have a map there. You can see how it kind of touches over the border there and into the two states. The Warwick Storing portion of the project stretches from the Hampshire boarding in Warwick, Mass. To the Pratt Junction substation in Sterling, Mass. It includes the tap stations in Royalston, Athol, and Gardner. Please. Right here is our schedule. Dates are subject to change. This is what we have right now. Currently, we have stakeholder outreach going right now. We have field assessments. Those have started in summer. Some of that work includes construction reviews, environmental field work, land survey, act reviews, soil borings, etc. Vegetation management. This is prior to the soil borings has occurred to get the boring machines in there, and that was in winter 2021 to fall 2022. And then we're going to start in Massachusetts prior to construction in fall 2025 with vegetation management. I will touch, I did skip over a little bit in the stakeholder outreach. You probably have, if you're here, you've probably seen some notifications in the mail. Maybe check out our website and some of the local meetings. Those will continue. Permitting has started. That includes federal, state, and local reviews. Construction restoration is 2025 to 2030. And we'll keep locations communicated through our stakeholder team prior to commencement. This right here is sort of a comprehensive list of the permitting. I'm not going to read each one. I'll give you a minute to look at it, take it in. If you have questions on specific permits, please let us know after the presentation. You can see there's a fair amount of them. We're here with the top one, obviously, at the Energy Facility Siting Board, the EFSB. That was filed May 1st, 2023, so we are in that process. The environmental permitting, the MEPA review, and MESA, U.S. Army Corps, etc., as well as other state and local permits. You can see at the Department of Conservation and Recreation, and we come down to municipal permitting as required. Please. All right. For more outreach, I think there is another deck in there. There is a deck in there that we skipped. I don't know if you want to jump back. It looks blank, but it's got a video in it. It's kind of sneaky. And then we'll get into the...
I think that I can start the video if you'd like me to.
Yes, please, and then we'll close out. Thank you.
All right, just one moment.
Get out of your way.
That did not work. Hold on. Ah.
Perfect.
B2 transmission line asset condition refurbishment.
Sorry, that's not working.
Which is located within the existing transmission.
It's working, it was just the sound.
Is the sound going out over Zoom? Regals?
No, you have to share the sound.
Hold on one moment, please.
Better you than me, I would be doing the same.
Regals, could you give me a hand here? He wasn't kidding when we said we're still learning this stuff.
As alluded to, technical difficulties.
Got it?
You're good. Quick response.
National Grid Operating Company, known as New England Power Company, is planning the New England A1-B2 transmission line asset condition refurbishment project, which is located within the existing transmission right-of-way in the municipalities of Vernon, Vermont, Hinsdale, and Winchester, New Hampshire, and Warwick, Royalston, Winchendon, Gardner, Westminster, Fitchburg, Leominster, and Sterling, Massachusetts. This project also includes the Athol Tap from Royalston Substation to Chestnut Hill Avenue Substation in Athol, Massachusetts, and the Crystal Lake Taps from Gardner Switching Station to Crystal Lake Substation in Gardner, Massachusetts. The project covers approximately 61 miles. Constructed in 1909 using horse and carriages, the A1B2 line is National Grid's oldest transmission line. The project scope includes replacing the existing structures, installation of new structure foundations, new conductor and shield wire, and right-of-way access improvements where necessary. The deteriorating 69 kilovolt line will be rebuilt to 115 kilovolt design standards to accommodate future capacity requirements, but will continue to operate at 69 kilovolts for the foreseeable future. The proposed new structures will be taller than the existing structures, which will allow for a reduction in structures in some areas along the right-of-way. Structure placement will vary at different locations along the project right-of-way. To account for specific needs, the mainline structures and the tap structures will have different designs. Existing mainline steel lattice structures are proposed to be replaced with double circuit structures. Existing Crystal Lake Tap single circuit wood structures are proposed to be replaced by steel single circuit davit arm structures. The existing Athol Tap wood H-frame single circuit structures are proposed to be replaced by steel single circuit davit arm structures. New structures will be built along the same center line as existing structures. Existing structures will be removed after the new lines are placed in service. There are no planned customer outages during the construction of the project. When preparing for construction, crew members conduct field activities including, but not limited to, wetland delineations, land survey staking, and soil borings. Next, vegetation management is conducted to clear the right-of-way and access roads. Then, access roads are established and/or improved. Matting is then placed in select locations to assist equipment when traveling, as well as providing protection to the ground below. There will be two types of structure installations, direct embed and self-supporting. To install the direct embed structures on the main line, crews will excavate a hole where a steel culvert will be placed. Following this, a steel pole will be placed in the culvert and backfilled with stone. The new poles will be constructed on site and built vertically. Self-supporting structures will be installed by drilling a large subsurface temporary casing shaft. The permanent casing will then be installed within the temporary casing. This is followed by the installation of tied rebar and anchor bolt clusters. Once these are completed, concrete is poured into the permanent casing, and backfill is placed to fill the space left behind with the removal of the temporary casing. The new structure is then bolted to the foundation, and braiding is done around the structure base. Once the new structures are in place, new conductor is installed, and shield wire is replaced. Following this, the existing and temporary structures are removed. Once construction is complete, the right-of-way is restored. Construction is anticipated to take place from 2024 to 2028, subject to change. Crews will not be working on the entire line at the same time. They will work their way along the line so landowners may see crews come and go. Our stakeholder management team is committed to keeping you up to date and informed on the A1B2 ACR project. We are continuing to coordinate meetings with towns' boards of selectmen and hosting public open houses for residents to learn more and provide feedback. Please reach out to us with any questions or concerns by calling our project phone number at 1-844-500-3536 or emailing us at info@newengland81b2.com. Visit our website for more information and project updates at newengland81b2.com.
Thank you. Now we just have the last slide, please. Okay, thanks everyone. Just ask for questions. You got it, it's fine. The one thing you will notice is that the dates were different in the video and the slide deck. It is 2025 to 2030. The last last slide does show, there we go, does show some ways for you to outreach and reach us. We have a hotline, email, and our website. So thank you for listening so far, and we look forward to further conversation today. Thank you.
Here. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we will proceed with public comments regarding the project. We begin with federal, state, and local officials, appointed as well as elected officials, who wish to be heard. Then we will proceed with the members of the public who have signed up to speak in the order in which they have signed up. And finally, we will allow anyone who wishes to speak but did not have the chance to let us know in advance to speak. When called to speak, if you are participating remotely, we will move you into the Zoom panel so that you can be seen and heard by the Zoom audience, as well as here in the room. Please give your name and address, spell your name, and speak slowly and clearly. Again, please stop speaking if you see my hand raised. If a company response to a comment or question asked is appropriate, I will ask the company to respond. We didn't previously have any officials sign up. I'd open the floor if any public officials have signed up and are present and would like to speak.
Is there somebody behind me? No? Here or?
Yes, these are our makeshift podium.
Okay. Thank you. Hey, welcome to Athol, everybody. I'm Sean Suhosky. I'm the town manager here. ShaunSuhoski. First, I commend, the video presentation. It was very clear. I think gave a great explanation of the overview. The proposal was presented to me and to my board of selectmen here at Town Hall across the alleyway maybe a year or two ago. And we asked some questions then on behalf of the town, and I'm still unclear, so I'll bring those questions forward for response. But before I ask the questions, I want to say it's great to see that this corridor is getting the attention it needs. Over the last 7 to 8 years, we've heard, and I've gone to, and probably our planner and others here have gone to National Grid meetings throughout the area talking about lack of capacity in the grid, the aging grid, how old is the infrastructure, and the fact that this is the oldest transmission line, I think that's what I heard in the presentation, speaks to a challenge that this region has faced for decades and decades and decades. It's the first to go into a recession, the last to come out of a recession. And it feels like the investment is always at the end of the line, no pun intended. So, thank you, and I look forward to learning more about the project. So the questions I have that I wanted to raise, and I thought I heard it answered today, and I jotted it down, was when the structures look great, they're designed to accommodate a higher capacity line. And when this was presented to the Athol board, I said, well, are we upgrading the 69 kV line, since all we've heard is that the lines are at maximum capacity. Solar projects that have been approved, a public project we'd love to do on a former landfill, which would be a great reuse of property. And I could be wrong, but at the time, a few years back, we were told the system's locked up, there's no more capacity, wait for us to do the substations. That was a separate project, new substations, and and eventually it'll happen. So now here it is happening, and I hear new structures, that's great, then I hear a new line, still at the same capacity, and some design standard is what I heard today. So I don't know what that means. That could be good, or maybe not so good. It seems to me that if there's a shortage of capacity, we should upgrade the line while we're doing this. I mean, this great presentation, the staff that are here, the project itself, it comes from the ratepayers. And everybody's electric bill has gone up over the years, like many other things. So that's a question that I have on that, and if we're not upgrading the line, why not, and can we? The other question I had relates more specifically to Athol and the Athol substation. There were the two tap lines that caught my ear were that to the Chestnut Hill substation in Athol, and a couple of years ago, and I don't know this is hearsay, but I had heard that National Grid had secured property on the other side of the Millers River, not on the gateway to downtown where the existing substation is, and they were going to upgrade and rebuild the substation at a new location. They did it at Crystal Lake in Gardner. It took, many years, but they cleared that out. Gardner has a beautiful park there now. I'm not sure Athol's location would be the same as that, but I'm curious, are we just upgrading what's there now? Is it going to get bigger, or is there a better location where that substation we were told was going to be rebuilt, or they were thinking about it, and now it sounds like it's not? So those are my questions and my overall comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Town Manager.
Thank you so much for your questions. Jess, a couple of those in your wheelhouse. You want to get started, please?
Sure.
Can we give you a microphone?
Just identify yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessica Farrell. I'm the transmission line engineer assigned to the project from National Grid. With respect to the question about capacity, we are replacing the existing conductor. So we're going from a 2-aught copper wire to a 795 aluminum conductor that's steel supported. It has significantly more capacity than what's up there now. So as we go to rebuild it, we are replacing the wire that's up there now and creating additional headroom on the system. And then with respect to the Chestnut Hill substation, there is currently a project that's in conceptual engineering that's evaluating alternate substation locations in addition to how we can best reuse the existing site. They haven't really finalized what that scope is going to be because they're looking at optimizing what we do have for rights, so we don't need to acquire additional property to keep pricing low, and also what kind of works within the existing footprint, and then the cost of additional real estate should we need to go to a different location. So that project is still in the works, and they haven't really finalized the path forward on that one.
That's good. I don't know if I can ask.
Yeah, just come back up, or you can take the microphone
Well,
up. Come
just
back.
right here. It seems really nice. Is the substation part of this proceeding, or is that would we contact somebody different to get more information on that?
So that is a separate project that's being run on a different timeline. We're still we're vetting options there.
One more, Mr. Chair?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Can you, because I'm not an electrical engineer, which is a great title, if that's your title, I understand the concept of headroom, so you're going to have a wire that can carry more electrons, or is that how it works? But why are we not sending more? Is the issue that we heard a few years ago of lack of capacity no longer?
So I'm actually a civil engineer, but so in terms of additional capacity, right now the cap is based on the size of the conductor on the existing lines. By replacing that conductor with one that has greater capacity, we're able to push more power through the system at the same voltage. So that's what's creating the increased capacity on the circuit.
If you have an additional
I
follow-up.
have it's like a half a question, because is there still a need for that additional capacity, or is 69 kV enough? Maybe I'm misunderstanding, because I'm not an engineer. The pipe's big enough now, so you're going to put that in. Do we not need the power, or this information that I believe I've heard that the grid is maxed out and we're shutting down solar projects? Maybe I could be wrong. I'm just a little more specificity on why we're not pumping more power in the new line. I will stop here. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, so by replacing the conductor but keeping the voltage the same, we are able to increase the power flowing on the line. Because so power is basically, you've got your amps and your volts. So basically, if you're increasing the amount of current, you're getting the ability to increase the power on the line at the same voltage. And at this point in time, there isn't the need, we're not seeing the need on the system to increase the voltage. Basically making the wire a higher capacity wire resolves the issues or any bottlenecks that we're seeing.
Thank you. Does that resolve all your questions for the time being?
To the limit of my knowledge of electricity right now, yes.
Okay. Are there any other public officials, federal, state, or local officials that are present that would like to speak that have? I'm seeing and hearing no response, so we're going to move on to the public comment portion of it. So next we'll take comments from members of the general public, beginning with those who had pre-registered with the siting board. When called, please give your name, spell your last name, and then give your address. So first up, we're going to call Pat Larson. Pat, come on up. Yep.
My name is Pat Larson, Larson. I live at 173 Athol Road in Orange, Massachusetts. I'm the chair of the Orange Town Energy Committee. So, oops. This is just brief. So, first I want to thank the members of the Energy Facilities Siting Board for coming to Athol for this hearing and public comment time. My brief question today pertains to some of the larger issues regarding the role of the Energy Facilities Siting Board in helping meet the state's carbon reduction targets for 2030 and 2050. These targets are outlined in the current Clean Energy Climate Plan and Roadmap for the state. I realize that this hearing is about National Grid's proposal to do some replacement and upgrading of the transmission lines from Vernon, Vermont to Sterling, Mass. To increase, the capacity on high tension lines, and also do some upgrades going from the Royalston substation to the Athol substation. However, at this point, there seems to be very little, if any, capacity on current National Grid infrastructure, including space on three-phase lines to add solar installations on local businesses and other developed sites in the area of Orange and Athol. For example, the solar project for rooftop installations on 3 barns at the farm school, a farm on land in both Athol and Orange, had to cut back 18% on one barn, and not only cut back on another dairy barn, but also install extra equipment to curtail export production. Even then, some of the energy production could be dumped. This is happening in 2024. My question, how will the A1-B2 project with a possible start date of 2025 help Athol, Orange, and other towns in the area be able to support farms, local businesses, and others who want to install solar on developed lands, such as rooftops and barns, in 2024 and beyond? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Larson. And for the company's response.
Thank you so much for the question. I'm gonna stand close to my engineer right here. I don't want not to get myself in trouble. I think you were speaking about distribution and your solar, small scale solar on these barns, on folks' homes and schools, feeding the distribution line. Just as far as that tying into the transmission line, which this job is, and the transmission line will sort of open the capacity for more solar and more things like wind if desired, but those would be on a much more, I'd say, macro scale, like bigger. Jess, I don't know how it all ties together if you can, go through the feeders backwards and go up, but if you want to help me out there. So I think you're having a distribution line question, and it might be limited by the distribution lines, and we're building a transmission line. They may not communicate too well, but.
That, yeah, I understand,
Okay.
there's some, but there's still national grid.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, so essentially the scope of work associated with this project doesn't relieve that issue. It would be more distribution upgrades that would resolve that issue.
So when's that going to happen?
I do not have those details, but we would be happy to follow up.
That'd be great. Okay.
Yeah, after the meeting, we get your information, distribution, we can pass it along and do our best. We understand your concerns, and you got all this great solar and you can't use it, right? And that's not great. So we'll touch base after this. In the big picture, it probably doesn't satisfy your need for your smaller solar. There could be much larger solar farms and wind farms, which would help with the carbon footprint. Yes, please.
I'm not sure that those larger farms can be built in some of these places at this point. In Orange, and I'm not sure about Athol, but in Orange, we already have 27 megawatts worth of solar farms generated. So I'm not sure that, partly it seems now we have to go to mid-size or ones that are developed on developed land, not by, I don't want to get into this, but it does involve clear cutting, some of those large projects involve clear cutting, use of farmlands and open space. So I don't think that there's room for, that we're at capacity regarding those large solar farms.
No, thank you. And first and foremost, this is, we're replacing the assets. So, we, I don't have like a master plan of someone's building this and someone's doing that. These are very, very old lines, first and foremost. As, it was your name, Shaughnessy?
Sean.
Sean said, this is 69 kV. When we turn this on, it'll still be 69 kV. It'll just have the capacity for 115. It's not like suddenly it's 115, but it opens up the opportunity. It may not, it may be more industry, something can use this. From my position in the company, more or less, this is more of an asset reconditioning with these towers from 1905. I'll definitely take your information and I'll see what I can honestly do to help as far as the distribution as well.
And I'll note some additional state representatives have joined us via Zoom. I'd just like to open up any potential comment if they'd like to join us and make any statements or provide any additional input or questions to the company.
This is in our remote audience. We see that there are representatives for Representative Ferguson and Representative Whips. So if you're interested in commenting, we did take public officials moments ago, but if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand and we can move you into the panel so that we can see and hear you. And if not, we'll continue. Okay, looks like no hands have been raised, so why don't we continue?
All right. Next up, Don Grippin. Don, come on down.
Dawn GRIBBONS, 87 Overlook Road, Westminster. My concerns are twofold, and they're gonna seem real selfish when one person's talking about the economy of towns and another about carbon neutral. But my property, and especially my back property, has both two power lines on it. One will be this, and the other will be the easement, the one that enters this. We've lived there 44 years. And in the last 20 years, when the crews have done their work, and there's been considerable work done on both of those lines, we have become the public bathroom. And it's very unsanitary, and especially when they're there for weeks. I've done everything possible, calling the hotlines, calling the people who are in charge of the crews. I realize these are sub-crews. I'm sorry to take up your time in an important meeting like this, but it's my only chance again to reach out. I've done everything I've been asked. The only thing left is to have somebody arrested, and I really do not want to start having crews come down. I mean, I've personally gone out and talked to the crews. The Board of Health has talked to the crews. The police have talked to the crews. It doesn't end. You were working these past weeks on the substation, the drilling, I think, for the substation. Same problem. Now, luckily this time, it wasn't on my land, but some of this was a higher class group. They had wipes, blew up onto my land. That's how I went and looked to see again it was being used. These crews have to be informed. They cannot be trespassing private land and using them as bathrooms. I mean, I don't know do you have a suggestion of what I can do? Anything?
I'll just ask someone from the company.
Because I mean, the children, you know, are out there, they play in my woods, which I encourage. You know, my grandchild plays out there, and I mean, it's toilet paper everywhere.
No, this project hasn't started yet. It's not our crews,
Yeah.
but it is it's a National Grid crew or a contractor of National Grid.
Yeah.
And for that, I sincerely apologize. For this project, it won't happen. I can, Stephanie can, want to make sure we know his address.
But it's
Yep.
really already happened with
Yes.
the drilling
Yes.
at the substation.
Soil lines?
Part of the Westminster substation, they were drilling
Yes.
the last couple weeks.
So first thing I'll do
Yeah.
is I'll talk to the contractor.
Yeah.
Jess and I know that contractor, and we'll call up and say, first of all, he should apologize to you. I don't know if that would help
He
you
doesn't
feel
have to
better,
apologize to me, I mean,
but
it's,
this is a very
yeah.
solvable problem,
yeah.
and it shouldn't have happened in the first place. And going forward, I can't guarantee other folks will come up there that, our job won't be starting until 2025. There should be no contractors out there until then, right?
Well, they're gonna start, I think it's Northern,
Okay.
is starting to clear lines, but that's a
Yes.
subline.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is true.
Yeah.
Jason's right here. Jason runs all forest crews. He's not out there yet. He's gonna make sure no one's using the restroom there. But as far as when this job starts, that happens, it'll stop right there because we won't put up with that.
Because
All right?
Jason, I called the company and just tried to talk, I didn't even get a call back,
Yes. Call
and I called twice. I don't even
Stephanie
know
if you
which one to
could.
call.
Definitely give them your number, so you can at least have someone you know who you're calling to. It's not just someone at the end of the line.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened, frankly.
No, I called the actual the forestry company,
Okay.
not
Yes.
not National Grid.
Call us.
Yeah,
Okay, and even if it happens on another job, you can reach out to Stephanie and I'll look into it because that's, our job will be starting and I'd be extremely disappointed in the contractors and our crews if that was happening. And if it did happen, it only happened once.
and it's happened, just so you know, I
Yes.
mean, it's happened probably 20 times.
I believe
I've had to
yes.
clean it up.
Yes, understood.
Yeah. Now, my other thing is to try to be helpful. And this would be again to you.
Mhm.
Where you're going between Overlook Road You're crossing through the wildlife area where there's a pond. And then you're going from Overlook Road to Oakmont Ave. Okay? That is always, used to be a depression.
Okay.
Okay, and it had hummocks, swamp maple, and it would be where all the snow melt would go, and then late spring it would be dry for the rest of the year. What's happened is because of the development on Overlook Road, and because of the way the town, especially with a large solar farm being put in, has drained all the water. The water is now, that area was fed by 2 streams on my property. That's its real source of water. Those were seasonal streams. You know, they run in the spring, that would be it, or a big rainstorm. Now they're running all year long. So several years ago, you had to reinforce one of these structures because of the water table coming up. Now, because of the amount of water, beaver are in there now. So that whole valley is gonna end up to be a pond, just like the pond in the wildlife area. Unless something is done, you know, the beavers certainly have a right to be there, okay? But if something isn't done to control their dam, they just keep building it higher and the water just keeps coming towards your pylons. So it's really raising the water level of that area. So I just wanted to make you aware of that, because when you even talk, at a conservation meeting earlier this year, they talk about a seasonal brook. It's no longer, those are no longer seasonal brooks.
No, we
Okay.
appreciate it, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank everybody for your time.
Mr. Gibbons, I appreciate you taking the time to come and speak today. I do think this is probably the appropriate forum to make sure you get your point across. All right. That concludes the people that had previously signed up for today's meeting. I just open the floor if there's any additional persons present that would like to come up and speak or have any additional comments regarding the project. All right, I'm seeing a show of hands, so we'll go in order just based on in front of me. Sir, if you'd like to come up and speak, come up to the podium. Please state your name, spell it, as well as your address.
Excuse me. My name is Thomas Russo, R-U-S-S-O. I live at 2766 Chestnut Avenue in Athol. Comment, question. I've listened to Mr. Suhosky's questions about renewable resources and solar, and I don't think an adequate response is, we'll get back to you. I am really very surprised and shocked, maybe I shouldn't be surprised, that National Grid has not provided technicians here to talk directly about what to do, how we all here can bring more solar into the system as soon as possible. And again, we'll get back to you as soon, it's not enough. National Grid has failed. Maybe one of you can answer me now. If we want to develop a whole lot more EV stations, will that capacity be? Will there be capacity to do that sooner than later? Well, why isn't somebody here to help us figure out how do we get these solar projects going? The one on the town landfill, former landfill, is not some small rinky thing. It can make a big difference. And no one here is able to help us. National Grid gets an F in that regard. Thank you.
And then a response from the company.
No, we appreciate the feedback. You know, it's hard for us to go up here and talk about a big transmission line, and a lot of these issues here are distribution. I can't say I know, you know, your homes and how that's all set up. So we can just, you know, I wish I could say, we'll send technicians tomorrow. The distribution, you know, it sounds like that you have solar panels and then you're limited by how much you can use it and when you can use it, which wouldn't make me happy either. I'm just being honest with you. It does, you know, and maybe my answer, you're saying I don't want anything big, but this is a bigger job right here, and I'm just being honest with you. It sounds like there needs to be upgrades on the distribution line as well. And your voices aren't being heard. So you're here, and I'm hearing you, and I'll do the best I can. This project right here doesn't tie into your distribution systems, really, Jess, really at all so much. I mean, you're allowed, this will have more capacity. So 69 kV is what it is today. So if someone wanted to start a solar farm or a wind farm, they'd be like, sorry, you can't go on it. It's maxed out. If you put too much capacity on it, it'll like melt, literally like the copper will droop, right? So like this 115 will allow folks to put more stuff on the transmission level, which will get stepped down through the substation to the distribution level. As far as like rooftop solar, it sounds like there are some constraints on on the distribution level that I'm unaware of, but are upsetting you guys. That's really all I can say. I get it. I can see why you're upset, Jess, did I goof anything up from an engineering perspective? I'm good enough. But this should help, like if you did if there was a distribution generator customer, that's what we call them, a DG customer, who said, hey, I see this old, mill over here, I would like to take it down and put up a bunch of solar panels. This would allow more capacity on the grid, on the transmission level, to feed into the substation. So you would be getting more green power at your house. However, it would be coming from a larger solar farm. That's kind of how this would help from an energy perspective, if you care about green energy, which we do, yes, but the distribution stuff that I really can't comment on, I wish I could, but it's a different issue.
If I may.
Just have a couple of quick follow-up.
Please, I don't want to.
I just wanted to mention one thing in response to Mr. Russo's comment and others, that although this project, which we are reviewing, the Energy Facility Siting Board, just want to make sure people understand we are not National Grid here sitting at this table. We review the project to ensure that there's a need for the project. Transmission supports distribution, which the representative from National Grid was talking about, and we do look at the entire need down to the customer level. So the issues that are being raised about the ability for solar to interconnect would be of concern, and a topic that we would investigate as part of our review of this project. Although it may not directly solve the issues that you're facing, there's a relationship between transmission lines, high voltage lines, and the distribution system where the interconnections to solar are made. So your comments are not lost on us, and this will be an area of our ongoing review.
First, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. And I think there are plenty of other people in the area who appreciate that as well. I just want to be clear. So once upgraded, say it finishes in Athol late 2025 or 26 or something, just that by itself, would that permit more individuals to bring on more solar, maybe even though maybe an individual, but a larger size facility? Or would we still have to wait for this distribution line upgrade? And the other part is, with just doing the transmission line upgrade, will that allow us to develop more EV charging station capacity in the area?
You want to go for it, Jess? I think I would say what I just said again. So Jess may have more technical expertise than the other.
I'll do my best to frame this. So, based on kind of the description of the issue that you're stating, it sounds like there's currently limitations on the distribution system, and with our transmission upgrades, we wouldn't be solving those particular issues. Those would need to get solved at the distribution level, at the lower voltage level. either reconductorings or additional circuits to essentially allow power to flow, the additional power to flow through the network. To the extent that there are larger renewable developments that would connect at a transmission level, which tends to be kind of a larger scale solar, this type of a project does free up the capacity to allow for that interconnection more freely. But the rooftop solar that's connecting into the distribution system that is currently limited, that this project would be resolving that. In terms of the EV charging stations, I guess this would allow more power to flow from the transmission to the distribution system. But again, if there were bottlenecks on the distribution system, those would need to be resolved in order to allow for additional charging stations.
One more question.
Sure.
So as far as the larger commercial sized solar facilities, so the transmission line is over there and the town landfill is over there. Once the transmission work is done, would that facility, the solar facility on the town landfill over there, be several miles away, would that be able to be done, or is there something else that has to be done because they're so far apart?
What would likely need to happen is reinforcement of the distribution system with either an additional circuit or reconductoring of existing circuits to allow for the capacity at the landfill to be pushed to the transmission system. It would need to basically go from the distribution voltage to the transformers at the substation and back into the grid at the transmission level that way.
Okay. Thank you.
And I believe we had an additional commenter in the second row, if you'd like to come on up. You might want to hold on.
My name is Christine Deering, Deerring. I live on Northfield Road in Warwick, Mass. And I'm actually on the Conservation Commission, so I probably should have gotten up earlier, but I've never done this before. I had a couple of questions on the basic process of some of the local permitting that's, I'm assuming is gonna happen, especially with the wetlands permitting. There's a ton of wetlands along those on those right-of-ways and the access roads. And that was another concern I had. Is there a map now that describes these access roads, or do we have to wait for the permit to see the permit to notice of intent to see those access roads?
Thank you for your question. Mike Terrell, if you're available, please.
Sorry, name again?
Yes, thank you. Mike Tyrell, Tyrrell, from the environmental lead for the project. Thank you for your question. We are, first of all, we do have maps that we can provide to you that show essentially our environmental resources that we've delineated with our field crews and the road, and what the road development would look like, whether it's refurbishing an existing access or in some instances constructing new access in those locations. So we have some pretty well-established mapping. As you heard earlier in the presentation, we're in the MEPA process right now. We filed very detailed information on impacts and mitigation measures and best management practices that we use during construction, and we will be filing with the Conservation Commission later this summer. So that will be coming. We're happy to come in and provide sort of an advanced briefing, if that would be helpful to the commission.
I think it would be.
We'll do. We will mark that down and ensure that we go ahead and schedule that in. So we have some pretty good information to share as we are right now.
Appreciate it. I had a question about noise abatement. This stuff is pretty loud. Based on some of the experiences I've had from other jobs near where I live, it's a constant boom, boom, for about 9 to 10 hours a day.
Yeah, that one, unfortunately, there's no way to sort of abate the installation process. That's why we limit our work hours for during the daytime, and Monday through Saturday is our current work schedule. We don't work Sundays or holidays unless there's some other issue where we need to provide some advance notice of something that needs to be done. So it's difficult to essentially abate that kind of activity when it's really important, and really the only way that we know how to install those kind of structures, particularly the structures that we're talking about for this particular project. One of the things that we, obviously our equipment will have, mufflers, and, we try to limit a lot of the ancillary sound, but as far as some of the hammering that you're talking about, in instances it will happen, and it's difficult to abate.
One other question, and it's based on my ignorance of the engineering these days, but why are these things so dang high?
So the height of the new structures is driven by the need to keep the new conductor over the top of the existing towers. Because these towers support 2 circuits, we can only take one circuit out and we can only take one circuit out at a time. What we have to do is basically build the new structure over on the de-energized side of the tower, install the new wire, and we have to keep that wire over the existing tower top at a height that's prescribed by the National Electrical Safety Code. So basically, we don't want any arcing or contact, which would cause an outage on this thing that we just built, while we still have the old circuit energized and attached to it. So that's why we have to keep that's why the structures are as tall as they are for this particular project. We're also going from kind of a triangular configuration for both circuits. You get the 3 insulators in a bit of a triangle. In this case, we're rolling to a vertical configuration. That's also kind of driving the height up, and we're also making sure that when we rebuild these, we get a better shielding angle. So we have the shield wire on the top of the structure. What we try to do is make sure that the energized conductor isn't more than 30 degrees out, so that way that wire at the top of the structure has the best chance of intercepting lightning strikes. So those are the reasons why the new structures are as tall as they are.
Thank you.
We have an additional commenter in the 3rd row. Come on up. Just please state your name and where you're from.
My name is Rick Hayden, that's Hayden. I'm from Athol. My first question is, you're gonna increase the capacity on these new 60,000 volt lines. What is the percentage increase in the capacity?
69 to 115.
No, it's gonna be staying at 69 initially.
Okay.
So what is the increase in capacity on these new lines? Percentage?
Are you saying like over a period of time, or?
Well, we're gonna go to 69, we're going from 69 to a higher capacity,
Yes.
69,000 volt line.
Mhm.
Is it a 10% increase in capacity? Is it 20%, 25%, 30%? That's the question.
So, I don't, Jess doesn't have it at the top of her head, so I don't, unfortunately,
So we don't know that. That would be something nice to know.
Maybe we can take a note.
Okay. And the other question I have is you're indicating that it may not be the main lines, the 69,000 volt line that's the problem. It could be the distribution system coming in. Say a typical distribution system, how long would it take to upgrade? Say you gotta go 2 miles from a new solar site to the substation. How long does it take to upgrade that distribution system? A typical.
This is from my experience doing what we call distribution generation. Every job is different, and
Right.
it's outside this project right here as far as transmission line. But for a DG project, a customer would come to National Grid and say, I would like to develop this area.
Right.
And then, we work out an agreement, right? An agreement would talk about who pays for what, and then part of that agreement would be upgrading the distribution system. Now, 2 miles, honestly, the longest part of those jobs usually is like the permitting and getting the agreement together.
Okay.
And then you're going through a lot of people who own land, and you probably don't gonna want this solar project, so that's gonna take like a while. But when you finally get all that, going 2 miles probably would not take very long,
Okay.
3-4 months maybe, but it's
Okay.
getting there that takes
Right.
the longest time.
Okay, that's all I got. And when do you think you'll upgrade to the 115? When is that going to happen?
I mean, the 115, so the 115 gives you the capacity, so you can you can have 69 on a 115. It's a bigger, and we're talking about just the size of the conductor and what the conductor size for
Right.
itself. It's like having something oversized in your house or whatever, it still works, but it's there for the future. In this case, this, with all the DG distribution generation, i.e. solar and wind, and maybe some of the folks in this town, have been blocked for other reasons for industry, whatever, the 115 allows you to kind of fill that up. So when this starts, you're gonna be at 69
Yes.
still.
Right.
It's gonna
But
depend on
higher
more,
capacity, 69.
it's gonna be, 69, straight up, as it always were. The same as it was. So that's why I wasn't sure about your question.
But I thought you indicated the new 69 is higher capacity.
Higher capacity is as far as having potential to put more energy into it.
Yes.
Yes. So
Okay.
when you start, there's no change, right? You'll have it'll be like having a bigger hose to pass the same amount of water through.
Yes, you're gonna have you can have an increase in power with the new system.
Yes, you have capacity for, let's say, that solar farm you're talking
Yes,
about,
yes.
or a factory that makes widgets. I don't know.
And that's why it's good to know the percentage. That way you would know how much you can put on that system
Yes,
before you go to 115.
yes, that'll, so it's a planned process. It's not like the floodgates are open.
But that would be extremely good to know. And I'll shut up at that point.
No, we appreciate the conversation. We appreciate, they're very good questions, very thoughtful questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. All right. There's an additional hand here in the second row. Sir, if you could come up and state your name and where you're from.
Name is Lee Gersh, that's Gersch in Athol. I think some of us here are a little surprised because we've been working on the energy side of things and the decarbonization side of things. And I believe we assumed that the information that you were presenting today was going to give us some encouragement that we would be able to bring online more solar, basically. The Healy administration started in their first year, they wanted to bring on 10 gigawatts of solar by 2028. They're down to 6 gigawatts now, which is a pretty amazing reduction in their goals. And frankly, that's what we were assuming. That we've been waiting for 5 years at least to get the solar plant on over the landfill. And we passed a more restrictive solar bylaw, but that was grandfathered in. There's no question. The town wants to do that. The town is backing that. And so maybe we shouldn't have expected what we did. But we're sort of desperate. I mean, we have goals that we're supposed to be meeting. We're supposed to be installing 120 car chargers in Athol by 2030. And we just don't know how we're going to be able to do that. Even after, it sounds to me like you're telling us you have obsolete equipment which you are replacing. And and I understand that, but it's not going to allow us to do anything really that we couldn't have done already. That's all.
Thank you.
No, from this meeting, we show up at these and really, I'm really, sometimes people really talk about environmental stuff, and I was not expecting so much discussion on distribution solar, but we appreciate it. I will say that it's a big system, so I don't know if this solar farm that you were talking about that you have ambitions for would be large enough to be transmission, I don't know, or distribution, I don't know the details on it. If it is large enough for transmission, this would help. If not, what's bottlenecking you is distribution upgrades. And that's something, you know, that is another side of National Grid from what I do, and I'm not trying to pawn it off or anything, but they would need to upgrade your distribution lines to be able to handle more solar. Residential solar,
That wasn't what I was
Yes.
talking about, because this farm, you know, has 3 large barns. It's not, they were.
I need, yeah, like, I wouldn't know, you get like are we talking megawatts, are we talking, you know,
88
kilowatts?
So.
So if it was large enough to need this transmission line, then this will help you. I don't know though. I don't know how big your solar farm is, and there's a lot to it. Like, you know, you're gonna have to, build it. Is it built yet?
Well, I have another question.
Sure. No, I'll do my best, but like, I'm just saying this is
And we are also online as well, so I just want to make sure that we limit any of the comments or to somebody that has a microphone. So I want to make sure that whoever is viewing online can also hear the comments and statements.
I need to know who's speaking.
And to know who's speaking. So please identify yourself before.
Yes.
Mike, do I just, do you want me to speak?
No, you can.
All right.
You
My
can.
name's
You
Pat
can
Larson, I'm at 173 Athol Road in Orange. And I think the whole question about the linkage between transmission lines and distribution lines, they're, you know, somehow for large solar, they come together in some way. For example, we also had a proposed solar project on the landfill in Orange years ago. It got cut. The interconnection study by National Grid took so long that we were put aside because there were a lot of
Excuse me.
large
I'm
solar
gonna.
projects.
Can you? Let's just limit the side conversation so that we can hear the speaker.
There were a lot of large solar farms being built in Orange that were permitted by by the correct local permitting boards. So I think there's a lot of issues that are all linked between the transmission lines, the distribution, the interconnections that they make. I mean, I referred to the farm school project because that's a good-sized project. They were, if you want, I have more details about that I can explain, but it seems to me somebody from National Grid should be able to explain how the interconnections work and why they've been delayed so long. So some, programs can't go online. Really has to do with not just distribution, but interconnections also. And
My name is Jeremy Sherman, I work for National Grid, I'm a project manager, and I do all sorts of jobs. And I do only one solar job. And that's the only one I can really speak to and say, but from my experience, yes, the interconnection study does take a while. And like I said, usually for me, the longest part is the stakeholders and the permitting. I don't know the details, and I hate to say I'm not in that group. I don't know everything about National Grid, unfortunately. I can only say that if you were to have a large solar farm, this project would be a good thing. As far as the one of the 3 barns, I honestly do not know. I think it's a difficult question to answer without knowing the details. Name and address? Yes.
So at this time, I think that we've covered all of the comments that were here in person. Are there any additional comments that are specifically related to the transmission lines themselves, specific to the project, that haven't been addressed or haven't been heard yet? Seeing and hearing no response, I want to turn to make sure that if there's any virtual participants here on Zoom, if they would like to be heard or make any additional statement or comment, that they have the opportunity to do so now. So I'll give them a minute to make sure that we that we respond to anybody online that is appearing virtually. All right, I'm not seeing any additional hand raised for any indication of any additional comment online. I do appreciate one additional comment.
This is a little bit out of focus or scope for today's hearing on the particular project at National. Sorry.
I got you.
Sorry. So this comment is more perhaps going the extra mile to be helpful to the questions that are being asked, which perhaps relate to another proceeding that's going on at the Department of Public Utilities, which I would like to at least make people aware of so that they can look at that. There's a proceeding called DPU 24-11. It's the Electric Sector Modernization Plan for Mass Electric, which National Grid is associated with. And the focus of that proceeding, which we are not the folks who are supervising and managing that case. We have counterparts in our electric power division, which we are not in, we're the siting division. But they are reviewing those filings in DPU 24-11. That's all about distribution system planning, and specifically on the focus of interconnection of solar, distributed resources, electric vehicles, and charging infrastructure, all part of what the department is investigating in this long-range planning process, which is very broad, very long-range time horizon, and I think there's a lot of information in that proceeding. It's accessible in the same file room that I believe a link is provided in the notice to this hearing, and you may want to look into that to perhaps find more information and maybe some clarifications or answers to questions, which unfortunately doesn't seem like you got the answers you were looking for today. I feel your pain, and perhaps that might be a useful suggestion.
Yes, one additional comment from Mr. Gibbons.
Again, my name is Thomas Russo. I'm a USSO with the Chestnut Hill Tabernacle. I'm just wondering about this other DPU investigation hearing. How will they be traveling around the Commonwealth as you all are? Or how do we, other than a link online, is there some other way to communicate with them?
There is a project website on the DPU homepage that you can find looking for that particular proceeding, DPU 24-11. I believe that hearings, evidentiary hearings where they ask questions of company officials are coming up this month and perhaps even into May. They are accessible to the public on Zoom or at the DPU hearing room in Boston, which I know is not very convenient, but at least you can tune in and see what's happening on Zoom. I believe they are being simulcast, if you will, onto Zoom. So we are not the ones who are managing that proceeding. I'm aware of it. I know it's relevant to the questions that are being asked about solar interconnection and electric vehicle charging and perhaps other things that are on your mind. So we can all, take a look to see. We'd be happy to provide you with more information in terms of where to, again, get that information in the other proceeding.
Okay. DPU 24-11.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I would like to thank everyone for participating this afternoon. I'd like to remind you that comments and requests for participation are due by April 26th, 2024. We welcome your input and questions. That information is invaluable in our review of this proposed project. If you have access to email and have questions relating to this afternoon's hearing or want clarification on the Siting Board's review of this case or anything else related to this hearing, please email me at connor.c.tar@mass.gov, also appearing on the notice that is available at the back of the room. I'd like to thank everyone for their participation this afternoon and for comments and questions that you've offered regarding National Grid's proposed project. Thank you, and at this time we'll go off the record.